we've really thought about what are the key components that they'll need as they navigate the virtual environment. And then, working across 3 of 6, we've built into their advisory period. So the hope there is that 3 of 6 will be something that many more students will have access to next year, as we think about that as part of social and emotional intelligence.
And prescription drugs. There is no obligation to enroll. The call and
It also does not ask you for the password, at least for me. You have the app, right?
programs and services that will add real value to your life. As a member, you can get discounts on glasses and eye exams, save on prescription drugs not covered by Medicare. But you can also
cold as a lamb with no hair. You ever see me fighting in the forest with a grizzly bear? Help the bear! That bitch don't.
All right. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here today. We're going to go ahead and get started. Yeah, I'm excited. This is Making Google Your Best Friend. I'm Hannah Jimenez. I'm a digital learning specialist at Rochelle and Lenore, and you can have access to all my contact information there. There's my Twitter handle, my email, as well as my website. Then my co-moderator today is Ms. Stephanie Harrell. She's the digital learning specialist at North Lenore High School in Kinston. And there's her Twitter handle and her email as well. She's going to be helping me moderate the chat today. So any questions or concerns or anything you want me to pause, Stephanie's going to be watching the chat and helping us like make this go as smooth as possible, because I know this is kind of a new conference style. So wave, Stephanie. All right. So how we're going to communicate, I kind of already said this, but questions will be in the chat. I'm not going to have the chat pulled up on my screen. So anything you say, I'm going to be waiting for Stephanie to like kind of interrupt me or tell me that there's a question or anything like that. Some of you I know were in my session yesterday, so hopefully it'll run pretty similarly to that. And then continuing the conversation, you know, nothing stops just after a conference. Like you might run into things, there might be questions, continue that learning process. And I really suggest Twitter as the place to do that. There's some awesome hashtags to follow on Twitter. There's the SEASummit2020, which is specifically the hashtag for this conference. And then there's hashtag NC Learns Together, which was created back in March when we first went remote virtual learning. And as most of our districts are starting to make those decisions, I think it's another hashtag to start following again. We don't want to think that we're all in this bubble by ourselves. Like there are people in our counties, in our state, in our nation, across the world, all experiencing the same phenomenon at the same time. And I think it's really important that we connect with each other so we don't feel like we're bearing this burden by ourselves. And then just something I like to do before we get started, both with kids and with adults, is just kind of understanding where we all are. Like this is, you know, a new environment. I know after our board meeting last night, lots of different emotions are flowing through. I know me and I know everyone else as you guys are having your board meetings as well. So it's just important to know where we're at. So if you would just drop in the chat kind of where you are on this scale. And remember that this is kind of an important tool to use with your kids as well. Because you're not face to face, maybe you're not picking up on some of those body language cues that you might normally notice. And it's a good way for kids to just kind of let you know, hey, this is not my 100% day. This is, maybe I'm at 50%, maybe I'm at 10% today. It's just really important that we're still checking in on our students, still checking in on our teachers if you're a PD leader as well, just to know where we're at. And hopefully by the end of this session, you'll have a lot of different tools that'll help with you as a teacher, you as a specialist, you as whatever you are in your building, and make you feel more productive and able to understand Google in a new way. All right, so let's make Google our best friend. Personally, I love Google. I don't know what I would do without Google, both in my professional life and my personal life. And so I'm basically what this session is going to be, we're going to walk through lots of different Google products. And I'm not going to focus on docs and sheets and slides. Like those are ones that we kind of get overwhelmed with. Now I'm going to talk about some of the intricacies of Drive and the different settings you can have there. I'm going to talk about mail and filters and how you can sort your inbox so you don't have 900 unread messages like I did at the end of June. Actually, I'm going to be honest, I had more than 900 unread messages at the end of June. But how do you organize that? How do you make yourself, like, I get really anxious when I see 900 unread messages, and I feel like I'm not doing my job adequately. So how can we organize our inbox to help us, you know, kind of have a little bit more control of that? How can I use Google Keep and Google Tasks and Google Calendar to make my life kind of flow so I don't forget things, where things are located? How can I tag all that stuff? How can I use Google Chrome not only for, you know, the extensions and things, but how can I use it to make my lessons more engaging or more productive? And different things like that. And please feel free at any moment to stop, to interrupt, to ask a question. Like I want to make this what it needs to be for everyone that's here. And so maybe you want to ask, like, maybe I don't talk about something and you see something you want to talk about, like just put it in the chat, we'll address it. I find that I want this to be more of a conversation instead of me just, you know, pointing and showing and clicking. Like I want you to experience this with me. So I know this is kind of tricky, but I do want, like when I go to my Google Drive, like I want you to go to your Google Drive too. And I know that that can be difficult because you're probably going to be switching between screens and things like that. But I do want you to try to move back and forth because your Google Drive might not look like mine, or you might have a button on yours that isn't on mine. And a lot of that has to do with our different counties permissions and things. And so it's important. I don't want to say that something is there for you and then it's not later on, and that might get confusing. I'm also going to, something that I need to address now is the recordings. I know that the conference is collecting recordings, but if any of you want recordings after this, because my slideshow is not going to have everything specifically that we talk about, because I'm going to be doing it hands-on in Google. The recording is going to be posted to my website, and the conference is going to be sending out recordings of all the sessions as well. So don't feel like if you miss something, you're never going to have it again. Like it will be sent out later. And then you have my email and I can always send it to you that way as well. All right, enough of all of the instructions. So the Google apps. I kind of listed off the main ones that I think we use as teachers, but the ones that I highlighted in white are the ones that I'm going to focus on today. But if I finish and there's still time, like I'm going to stick around. And if you have questions about any of the other ones that I don't really get to, we can talk about that as well. Like whatever you all need, that is what we're going to do. So I'm going to start with Google Drive. And these are just some of the things I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about folders, how to make use of colors, the different views, how to see recent changes, the quick views, the workspaces, how if you have Teacher Google, you have unlimited storage, which means don't you ever delete anything. I am a proponent of don't delete it because you're probably going to need it. Maybe not next year, but maybe in 2 or 3 years. It's going to come right back around, like we know all things in education tend to do. Keep it, don't delete it. And then how to back up your computer to your Google. I normally do this like where we walk through that process together. I'm just going to explain it. This is one of those things that if you want to learn how to do that, definitely take down my email and I will send you like a step-by-step tutorial video of how to do that. But because I normally like walk around the room and help each individual person do that, I don't think this environment is going to be appropriate for that.
Get off my rug.
So yes. All right. We are going to come out of here now and we are going to get into Google Drive. All right. So this is what my Google Drive looks like. It might look differently for you. As you can see, I make use of colors. Now, my use of colors is more because I'm just a little bit type A and need things to look pretty and be organized. But some of the ways that I would suggest using colors, especially now that we're going like virtual, is I would suggest using colors as a way to help students know what folders correlate with which subject. So like as a school, can your math department decide that like the color yellow is going to be like all student folders that are yellow are going to be math folders. All folders that are green are going to be ELA folders. All folders that are blue are going to be social studies. All folders that are pink are going to be science. Like just something that's easy for students, especially if your students, like if you're going to be like a highly Google used school, something that's easy for them to like quickly look at their Google Drive and see things and make connections. I find that, yes, we can title things as,
Get him, buddy.
we can title things as effectively as we, sorry, I got thrown off. We can title things as clearly as we want, but sometimes with kids, they need that extra like visual to help them. So it's super easy to change colors if you don't know how to. If you just 2-finger tap or right click, and then you just scroll down to change color. And then you can change your colors. As you can see, I like my rainbow. I do that once again, just for me, but that's, if you don't use the priority section, I really like this section. It took me a while to figure out the best way to use it. And so for you, I'm just kind of brainstorming. I haven't used it this way personally, but you could even create like a workspace for each of your individual classes. And then the documents that you use in that class a lot would be there quickly for you to click on. So I'm just going to show you an example of one of mine. So I'm a testing coordinator. And so these, yes.
Before you go into that real quick,
Mhm.
somebody asked how you got your cute little pointer.
Yes, we are going to talk about that later on in the session. So we will get there. It's a Chrome extension.
And I will say that the workspace I used a whole lot when we went remote because we had documents coming in from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I had a hard time like getting them all straight where I needed to. So that I put them in my workspace and it helped a lot to find things.
So just like Stephanie just said, it helps like, you know, when you have like a folder from, you know, 7 different people, or like you have a document from one person that's on your team, and then you have a document from another person, and then your principal sends you a document, and they're all kind of related, but they're not, a folder doesn't make sense to like house them because you don't want to click on a folder every single day. This, you know, this just makes it easier. So like as a testing coordinator, this is how I specifically used it. Like these are all of the documents that I used on a regular basis for testing. And as you can see, I stopped in February. Yay. But so let's just an example of how to create a workspace. So let's say I'm creating a workspace from like the sessions that I did for this conference. So I'm going to click create workspace and I'm going to title it SEASummit. And I'm going to press create. And then it wants me to add my files. So naturally it went through and tried to find the files that they thought it was that I wanted to be in here. So I can click on those files. I click add selected files. All right, but maybe there's another random file in there, or maybe I was brainstorming or something, and I want that in there as well. So I can just click on add files, and it's gonna pull up all of my recent files in my drive. And so let's find an example here. There's the video that I made yesterday. So I'm gonna click on that, and then I'm gonna click insert, and now it's added. So now I have a workspace that was added for the SEASummit. It has all the files that I've been in most, frequently this week. And it's an easy place for me. Now I don't have to go in my drive, and the way I sort things can get really crazy. If I went in my drive, I would have to go into my personal section, and then I'd have to go into another folder titled conference presentations, and then I have to go into another folder titled SEASummit. And that, for me, is how I like to organize things for later use. But for right now, because this is something that I'm working in like every single day, this makes more sense. Now, eventually, I'll probably click the 3 dots, and I'll either hide or remove the workspace, because after today, I'm not going to be needing to use these files as often as I use them right now. And so it's pretty simple. If I just wanted to hide it, it goes hidden, and then it comes down here at the bottom. And then if I wanted to make it visible again, I would just unhide my workspace, and then it pops up at the top. So I know workspaces was something I had not previously used a lot until we went remote, or until, I don't know, maybe until January. And then I know a lot of my teachers started exploring it during remote learning, and I just think it's something that maybe you haven't explored because you didn't know what it was, and I wanted to make sure we all knew what it was. So that's under that new priority tab.
Hannah, I have a quick question about that.
Yes, of course.
Once you put your documents in the priority folder, does it remove them out of the other folders that you had them in?
No, it doesn't.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we kind of know what our drive is. Different views in our drive. This is the view I like right now. This really just depends on my mood. Sometimes I like this view better, but I don't like to scroll, and that's kind of one of my things. Like, I don't like to scroll too much. So like, all I have to do, that's everything that's in my drive. Everything else is sorted into folders and folders and folders and folders and folders. And that's just how I personally like it. All right, shared drives. This can be turned on. This may be turned on in your district. It may not be. It's basically a Google Drive. It's basically another way to have a Google Drive folder with different people. I don't think there's anything special you really need to know, but I will say that if you create something in a shared drive, you cannot move it to your drive unless you download it and then re-upload it.
Good boy.
If you create something in your drive, you can move it to a shared drive. But if it's created within the shared drive, you cannot move it to your drive. So something, if your district does use shared drives, just something to be aware of, because I learned that the really hard way.
Yeah, Hannah, on that note, our department in Carteret County uses that shared drive, and that was definitely something we had issues with when certain people that just weren't following directions or weren't as tech savvy were editing a shared document that you were supposed to always make a copy or save separately, because once you edit it, then that document is edited for everybody.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, always make a copy. Super easy.
Yes, always make a copy. And I'm even going to stress something I'm going to talk about a little later is
I was about to call my
new Google shortcut. You used to be able to take something that somebody shared with you and move it into your folders, and it was all nice and simple. But now Google has decided that they don't like that, and they've created this Google shortcut, and we're going to go into more detail later. But if you get the option to make a Google shortcut, just make a copy. It makes your life a lot easier. All right, next is computers. This is where, like, make a note. If you don't have this tab, if you want this tab, if you want to learn how to back up your computer to your Google Drive, especially if it's like your school computer, then make a note that you want to email me so that I can send you another video, because this would take literally the whole rest of the time just to explain this process. But as you can see, I have backed up my school computer to my Google Drive so that if I don't have my school computer, let's say it dies, and I'm given a loaner, I can still access everything that was on my school computer through my Google Drive account. Because what happens is the process that's used, which is this, oh, you can't see it because, never mind. There's a cloud like at the top of my browser that's got this spinny wheel. And basically what it's doing is every 10 seconds, it's updating my Google Drive with any documents or pictures or anything that I create on my desktop or saved in my desktop or save in documents. And it's automatically uploading them to my Google Drive. So I highly recommend, if you don't have this, to email me so that I can send you the instructions for how to do that. When in that email, please let me know if you have a Mac or if you have a PC. That changes how the instructions will be sent. But it's super useful. I've had my computer die twice on me in the last 3 years. And if I didn't have this, I don't know what I would have done. I would have cried a lot. I did still cry a lot, but I would have cried even more. Next is shared with me. So shared with me is where anything that's shared with you obviously goes. Now, if something's in shared with me, it means that you are not the owner of this document. So this is where that shortcut thing, make a copy, comes in. Let's make an example. Okay, I want to add this. Actually, let's not do that because I have student data. I want to add this to my Google Drive because I want to save it forever. I think it's really important. I know I'm going to need it later. And I used to be able, it used to say, instead of add shortcut to Drive, it would say add to Google Drive. For some reason, Google has changed how their permissions work when you're sharing with other people. And now it's not going to let you basically claim ownership. So what's going to happen is if the owner of that document decides that they don't want it anymore, they can delete it and you now have lost access to it forever. Another thing that I unfortunately learned the hard way. So what I suggest is if you're given this option, don't take that option and just make a copy. Now, I will say, if it's a shared document where you're expected to make edits on it, you're going to have to remember the difference between your copy and the one that edits are being made on, because they're not going to communicate. Like before, when this was add to my drive, it was going to communicate and you could make copies on the one that was in your drive and it was going to automatically edit the one that was shared to you. But it doesn't talk anymore. And I know that's super confusing and I don't really understand why Google did that. But they did. And so now it's made our lives a little more difficult. But so like this is a document for me that no one's going to edit again. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to make that copy. All right. And now it's added into my drive down here at the bottom. Now, just so you know what it looks like to have that shortcut as well, I'm going to find something else. Let's find this. And I'm going to add this shortcut to my drive. And then it's going to ask me where I want the shortcut, which is nice. But let's just add it to like my basic drive so that you can kind of see how to denote what's a shortcut and what's not. So if I scroll down, if it's got this little arrow, it's just a shortcut. But what I found is once you place the shortcut, let's see if it'll let me. Oh, once you place the shortcut, depending on how the permissions are set up, sometimes you're allowed to move them and sometimes you're allowed to. So because this one's a big one that's shared with a lot of different people and probably is shared by link only, I'm allowed to move it. But when I was cleaning out my drive, I found that a lot of the shortcuts I couldn't move into folders because it restricted permissions from the person that had originally shared it with me. I know that sounds really confusing, and I promise I'm not trying to make this more confusing than it is, but you have to be really careful with shortcuts because, like, let's say Stephanie shares something with me, and I add a shortcut to my drive, but then I want to move it into my coaching toolkit folder, but she's not shared. She doesn't have that folder shared with her. It's not going to let me move that shortcut to that folder because she doesn't have access to that folder. I think that's the best way to explain it. So anyway, I hate shortcuts. Make a copy. It's simple. You probably don't even know how much stuff is shared with you. Like, you don't always get emails when things are shared with you. So what I would suggest is, not that we have free time, but if you ever have some time that maybe you're laying in bed at 10 o'clock at night and organize your Google Drive like I do, go through and see if there's anything in here that you might want. Like, I scrolled through here the other day and I saw all these names and I'm like, what is that? Like, I don't even know what folder was shared with me when that would give me access to all of this. So you might have something, you might have forgotten you have something shared with you that you want to save for later, or you might have things shared with you that you have absolutely no idea how, and maybe you don't need that folder anymore. I just encourage you to take a couple minutes and scroll through your shared with me. It will be enlightening, I promise.
Hannah?
Yes.
Going back to saving your computer desktop, your computer files to Google, the question was, can you upload more than one computer, like home and school's computer?
Yes. If you see on my screen, this was my computer that I had 4 years ago. So it was the computer I had before the computer I have now. And then this is my current computer. So this is all the data that was saved from that computer before I had to give it up and get the new computer. And then this is my current computer. And then this is my external hard drive. And I have them all saved within my school Google Drive, which honestly leads me to the whole storage. As a educator, you do have unlimited storage. And as you can see, I use that quite liberally. I have 247.4 gigabytes used. And I encourage you to test those limits because if you have the storage, why not use it? I use it for photos. Google Photos automatically goes into that storage. So if you have Google, then you have Google Photos. I automatically back up all photos on all devices to Google Photos. Now, for some of you that might cross some line, some people I know don't like to cross like professional and personal lines like that. I personally back up all of my phone photos to my Google Photos as well. It just kind of depends on what your line is there. Yeah. Okay, next is recent. Makes sense. Anything that I've clicked on recently, anything that I've opened recently is going to come under recent. I don't typically use recent for a lot of the reasons that I've already kind of talked about. I create my own systems. As soon as I get a document, I automatically put it where I think I want it. Starred is favorites, so I star things. Now, I do use starred sometimes. As you can see, these are things that sometimes get lost. This was actually, I used starred a lot more before workspaces. These were where I would put things that I knew I would need, but oftentimes are the things that are like in a folder, in a folder, in a folder, in a folder, in a folder somewhere. And then trash. Yes, I do delete things from my Google Drive. Not really. I delete them from my Drive screen, but I never delete them from my trash. So if you scroll, literally, I have never deleted in the 7 years I've been in Lenore County, I've never deleted anything from my Google Drive. So I could scroll back through 7 years of things that I've put in my Google Drive trash that are never deleted. And that's a great thing about the Google Drive trash. It is never like after 30 days, the trash is deleted. No, it's all there. So 7 years worth of things is still there. It still counts in my storage. It's not deleted. see how many crazy random things are in here. Yep, there's a lot. I see some music in there too. So it's all there. You're an educator, you have an educator account, don't delete anything. Yeah, don't delete anything. Next, we're gonna go to our settings up at the top. It's kind of beside your waffle. We're gonna click on that settings gear. Also, I do call this the waffle. I sometimes forget that I call it that, but it's the dot collection of 9 dots. I find it's just easier to call it the waffle, but you can call it whatever you want. All right, I'm gonna click on settings and I'm gonna open settings. Convert uploads. Automatically, let's go ahead and check convert uploads to Google Docs editor format if you don't have that checked. If you don't know what that does, I will after we fix all these settings, I will show you what it does. But essentially, if you have a PDF and it's not too dense, is I think a word. It's not too much. Like, let's say it's just words. Typically words and images are the easiest thing. It doesn't have anything fancy. It doesn't have like fancy borders and anything like that. It's just like words and pictures. It will, when you put it in your Google Drive, if you right click on it with this checked, you can make it a Google Doc. And it does all that converting for you. And even if it's not the most beautiful thing in the world, what I tell a lot of my teachers is I would rather take 5 minutes and like fix some of the editing than take 30 minutes to retype it and try to recreate it if it's something I really like. But I'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. Also, the offline section, make sure you have that checked. Before I would, and this is still important, especially if your students have Google accounts, make sure that this is checked so that what happens is when they're in a place with internet and they get all of this stuff, as long as they keep all of these documents, doc sheets, slides open on their device, they're still able to work on those documents. And so they can go in and they can make edits and they can make changes and they can complete their work even if they don't have internet. And then the next time they come into contact with internet, as long as those items are open on their Chromebook or on their iPad, it will automatically update those documents for them. So let's say, they're doing remote learning. They only have internet access at grandma's house, and they go to grandma's house and they open up all these documents, but they're only there for like 2 hours, on Saturday, or maybe they're only there for 2 hours, like on Wednesday or whenever they're there. They open up all the documents that their teachers have sent them. Even when they go away from that internet, they can still be completing their work. And then the next time they get to grandma's house, it'll automatically update all of those documents for them.
Hannah,
yeah.
We've got one person that says their drive does not show offline, and then another one that says my drive shows offline, but I have to contact an administrator. Is that all administrator?
That is, if it says contact an administrator, then it's a security issue within your district. Someone at your district office will have to go in and turn it on.
Okay, and then if it just doesn't show offline, would that be something that they would need to go to their administrator about as well?
If it doesn't show offline, you're probably not in a Google Chrome browser.
Okay.
I've run into that a couple of times. If you're in Safari or if you're in Mozilla, offline does not show. Is that correct for the person that was having that issue? I just want to make sure.
Sandra, which browser are you using?
Okay, well, we'll wait and see. So that's all I typically do within settings. Those are two. A lot of people change their density. I'm going to be really honest. I don't notice any change when I change it from cozy to compact to comfortable, literally nothing. I do like the quick access, which is those like 4 files that kind of slide at the top. Some people don't. If you uncheck that, then it goes away. And I don't like making priority my default homepage, so that is unchecked. But if you want to, you could put a check mark, and then every time you open your Google Drive, it's automatically going to go to your priority tab. Personal preferences, I don't like that, but you might like that. You can check that and that will happen. But now let's go and let me show you the PDF conversion. So let's find a PDF in my drive that I can actually convert. That'll look nice. Nope, not that one. Not that one. Okay, what is it called? I have one. Okay, let's say it's this one. Okay. Now, a lot of our LMSs, this is not a great example. Normally I have one that's pictures, but I can't remember what it's called right now. I am going to, okay, so I pulled up my PDF in my Google Drive. There it is. I can't edit it. Now, a lot of our LMSs, now I know Canvas, you can edit PDFs. I still prefer Google Docs and things like that. But open with Google Docs. It's going to do this for just a little bit. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it doesn't. This was a pretty simple one, so it shouldn't take long. And then there it is. It converted it for us. It's all there. Like I said, you might have to take a couple minutes to like format it, but it's going to take me, you know, maybe 2 to change some font sizes. Whereas it maybe would take me 10 or 15 minutes to retype it. Now, this isn't a very complex one. Like I said, normally I have a much more complex one. But if there's something that you really like that's a PDF that you want to use, especially with this new learning environment, it's an easy way to convert it, get it in your Google Drives. And then if you have Google Classroom, then you can just put it in Google Classroom, make a copy for every student. They put their answers on it. Super simple. I feel like a lot of you probably do have Google Classroom. We used to use it, but now we use Canvas. But that was a major highlight for a lot of the teachers when we use Google Classroom, was the ability to convert PDFs to Google Docs. Now, if it's in, I'm not converting this one, but I'm showing you an example. If you 2-finger click on it and it's just in your drive, then open with Google Docs. And that's how you would do it from that.
Just to clarify, does it convert the pictures also?
It does convert the pictures, yes. Which is why I normally do it, because to show you that it keeps the pictures there. But when I don't delete anything from my drive, sometimes I forget what things are called. So that is Google Drive. Does anybody have any questions before we kind of move away from Google Drive?
I had a question about, in the settings, there was something that talked about managing apps. Do you ever do anything with that, or is that something we're going to cover?
I don't do anything with managing apps. Like, these apps are going to be the ones that are automatically there because they're the apps of Google. So a lot of times what it means is like this Doc Hub, like when you upload a PDF and you need to sign it, it's different things. Like when I click on to do the conversion, it's like something that you can add to do other things in Google Drive. I personally don't use any of them, so I'm stumbling trying to even explain it. I find other ways around having to use apps because I don't like them personally.
Okay, just wondering.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions about Google Drive? All right. we are going to move on to Google Mail. All right, so this is what my Google Mail looks like. This is how I like it to open up every single time. This is how I don't get super overwhelmed with any of my emails. I have my emails divided into categories. I have an important category, which most of the time really just means it came from someone within Lenoir County Schools. So it's automatically going to go to that important. It also means that any group of emails that I'm a part of, so like we have a digital learning specialist group, any email like that is going to go there. Or if I'm a part of a group with like digital learning ambassadors for the state of North Carolina, I'm in a group with all of them. That email is going to automatically go to important because I'm a part of an email group. Unread, we'll click on that one. That is pretty much where anything that I like, newsletters or blogs that I follow or anything that's not super like, oh, look, that's the one from out of, see, you already emailed me. So I marked you as important, and so now it's going to move into my important section so I don't lose it. I check this probably once a day, but this is not where I spend the majority of my time in this section. If it's something that is unimportant, but I want to come back to later, I star it, and so it goes there. And then this is where after I've opened it from either important or unread, and it's read, it goes here. So how do you get your inbox like that? I'm going to show you. So I'm going to go to settings, just beside the waffle like it is everywhere else, and I want to see all settings. All right, so this is where all the magic happens. In general, I don't typically change anything in the general settings. The only thing that I change here is your signature, is where I put my signature for my emails and things like that. It's also where your vacation responder is, which I've started using vacation responder a lot since we went virtual and remote, just to remind people that, you know, over Easter break, don't email me 35 times a day. Students, don't email me 35 times a day. I'm on break just like you are. So that's there. But to get your inbox like that, we want to go to inbox. And then we want the inbox type priority. Now, there are lots of options. You can explore those options, but I found that priority inbox is the one that I like the best. It's going to give you these options, and then it's going to give you even more options. I mean, pretty simply, like in this inbox, you want important, and you want to see however many items you want to see when you click on that tab. I do 25, you can do 50, you can do 5. But for me, 25, I would say I get approximately between 25 and like 30 important emails every day. And if I'm checking my email, which I check my email probably like every 5 minutes, unfortunately, it's a very bad habit, I'm going to catch all the emails that I need. Unread, you check unread. How many emails? You can see where I got really tired of looking at all the blogs this summer. So I'm actually going to change that back to 25 now. Starred, 25. 25 is my go-to, as you can see. But that's how you set it up. Now, let's see, nothing else here. Make sure you go down and you save changes. If you don't click that button and you go out, then it's not going to save. But if you want it, save changes, you go back to your inbox. See, I didn't change anything. And then you should see that it's divided up like that. Now, the thing that I probably like the most about this is that I keep my sections closed. Like, I only click on them when I'm looking for something or I want to read something. Otherwise, it's closed because, yeah, I use this window for a lot of other things. Okay, go Stephanie.
So there was a question about Outlook mail into Gmail, and I know you can set up Outlook to forward to Gmail, but outside of that, do you know of any other way that they will communicate?
I think Let me just check. No. No, I would just do the forward. And what I would do is I wasn't going to go into this, but I will. If you set up the forward, then you can go into filters and you can create a filter where it will filter all of your Outlook emails to like a specific folder so that you have a section where they're always going to go. So just, I'll talk about it now. So I'm going to create a new filter. And let's say I want all emails from Stephanie to go, let's say, yeah, just from her. It doesn't have to have a certain subject, doesn't have to contain any words, whatever. I want to create this filter. What? Why aren't you going? Okay, I've created this filter. So all emails from Stephanie, where do I want them to go? If you apply a label, that's exactly like putting it in a folder, essentially. And so I want it to apply a label, and I want it to go create a new label. I'm going to type in her name, create. So now all emails from Stephanie are going to go into that folder. I'm going to apply it to all the matching conversations that I already have in my inbox, and then I'm going to create the filter. And so now, if I go and I scroll down, we're going to have a label that has her name, and then I'll be able to click there and see all her emails. Does that help with your Outlook?
Can you go back over once more about where to find the filter at?
Yeah. So you go into your settings, and then like when I went to inbox, I just move over to filters and blocked addresses, and then you go to create a new filter. And then this is where you would put in whatever that forwarding address it is. That's whatever it's from. That's where you would put it. Or maybe it's to. Hopefully that helps. Now, I've never done that before, but that was the only thing like in this moment that I could think of that would help kind of organize all of those forwarded.
Another question says, I saw sit team. So can it be topic, subject, even keyword?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. So like, yeah, I don't have to put an email address here. I could just put in every time my principal emails with that, or maybe it has anything that has the word school improvement team. Yep. Anything that has the word testing. No, I wouldn't get too crazy. But because then you have to remember to go and check those labels really frequently. But like anything, like I do it a lot, as you can see. I do it with listservs, like the math and ELA listservs that I'm on, just because some people really like listservs, and I feel like they spend a lot of their day just replying to listservs, and that clogs up my email system. And so I try to like schedule a time in my calendar, like especially during remote learning, like in my morning, like 8:30 to 10, maybe I'll go through and see what people did yesterday. But that's just how I use it. But yeah, you can do keywords. You can do if it has an attachment. So maybe it's a school improvement team that has an attachment, automatically filter it. Or maybe it's from a certain person and it has an attachment. And then anything from that person that doesn't have an attachment won't go to that filter. You can be very specific. Okay. That's really all we're going to do in there.
I had a quick question about the filters.
Yes.
So when you set up these filters to go to the specific label, that means it's not going to show up in your regular inbox. It's going to go directly to that label?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
All right. We'll go back to my inbox. All right, something else. Now, when I say that this is like my school screen, I mean that and for a lot of different reasons, but mostly I mean it because of these three things that Google has added off to the side. because I use these a lot, as you can see. So the first one, or the bottom one, is tasks. Now, Google Tasks is also an app that you can just go and click on. Well, look, I don't ever click on it, so I don't even have it added to my bar. But I never use it like by itself. I only use it when it's integrated into Mail, because for lots of different reasons. One, because the reason I use it is because I tag emails into the task. So like this was one that was sent way back in, this is a testing email that I got. It was sent at the end of June. And I was like, I'm never going to remember that this email in June is something that I need to read in August. So I added it to my task and now it's there. Cases, this is from one of the elementary schools telling me about iPad cases that I need to read once we go back to school. This is about iPad damages coming from another elementary school that I need to read once we go back to school. And this is from my data manager about new enrollments whenever I go back to school to set up new iPads. These are all emails I need, but I don't need them clogging up like my inbox, and because eventually they're going to be 50 emails down. I'm not going to remember to go back in August to read 50 emails away. This is easy. So I'm going to show you how to add something to your tasks. So I'm going to open up, let's just open up this. All right. And this button at the top is a check mark with a plus. I'm going to click that, and then it adds this email to my task. So now, I've closed it. I don't, it's a couple days later. I remember that there's that email I need to read. Oh, it's over here on my task. I can click on it and it's automatically going to pull up the email. It's super awesome. Probably one of my favorite things that Google has changed within Mail recently, because it makes my life a lot easier. But I also use tasks for a lot of different reasons. So if I go down here to completed, you can see a lot of them have email attachments, but a lot of them also are just like little notes that I make for myself that maybe I don't need for too long, but I want to make sure I get it done. And then probably something that I also really like is I get to click check and it goes away. So let me close completed, I click check, and it's gone, and I feel a sense of accomplishment.
Will you show that again real quickly?
Yep. All right, so I'm gonna go into my mail. I'm gonna find an email that I wanna remember. This is a blog that I follow. This has a lot of great stuff. I wanna remember it for later. At the top, I'm gonna go to my check mark with a circle and a plus sign. I'm gonna click there, and it's gonna add to my tasks. So then when I close my inbox and I don't remember where that email is, I just go over here and I click that task and it's going to open up that email. And then when I've got all the information I needed out of that email, or I no longer need to be able to quickly click on that, I just go over and I click the check mark and it goes away. Absolutely love it. I also love tasks because I can create different lists. So I've got a work list and a personal list. Because my computer is I use it for all things. I have a personal to-do list as well. And a lot of it actually has to do with a lot of different courses I'm taking, different webinars I want to remember that might not be specifically LCPS work related, but I do work for NCVPS as well and different things like that. So things I need to still remember to do. And since this is the screen that I have up most, this, let's just be honest, I probably never close this tab unless I need to restart my computer. This is the tab that is always open. All right, so moving up this little sidebar. Next, we have Keep, which is our notes. Another thing that I really love. These are more tasks are things that I eventually want to go away. I eventually want to be able to check mark, it's done. I never want to remember it again. But notes are things that I need to remember and I probably don't want to ever delete. So I've got reminder of how much iPad fees are, because I always forget how much we charge for everything. I have a note about a textbook commission thing I need to do, any conferences that I'm interested in for the fall, tools that I want to research or understand more about, or maybe tools that I want to be sure that I remember to tell certain teachers about. instructional strategies that I've learned about, safe picture sites. And then maybe I need to create a new note. Maybe I'm in a meeting with a teacher, or I'm in a meeting with my admin. I'm just gonna take a note. I'm gonna write to-do list for a Whitfield, my principal, and then I'm going to start writing down, you know, whatever he's saying really quickly. If you pin the note, so like let's blah, 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 blah. I said lots of things. I'm done. It's pinned, it goes to the top. If I unpin it, then let's say I unpin it and then I make another note, blah, 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 and press done, then the newest note goes to the top. But if I pin it, then that note goes to the top. You can also color code, but in order to color code, as you see, I really like color coding. You have to go to the actual Google Keep, which you can open in a new tab by clicking here. And I'm only going to show you this because I do use, like, I use Google Keep a little bit more outside of mail sometimes than I do Google Tasks. But like you see, I have my different colors, I have my sorting, and not all of, yep, they're all sorted. Got my ISTE, I've got my NCDLCs, personal, things that are specific to my school, testing, yep. So as you can see, I sort things. I need things to be sorted. I need to be able to quickly click on things. So sometimes I do use it outside of Google Mail, but most of the time I use it directly within Google Mail. So that is Google Keep. I'm sorry, I have to delete this or I'll forget. And then last is the Google Calendar, which if you are not using Google Calendar, I definitely suggest Google Calendar. And now these are just, so I went ahead and made it, this is like what the schedule we had when we were doing virtual learning in the spring. I about said fall. Well, we are gonna do it in the fall. But in the spring, these are the hours that I kept most regularly. So like we would have daily prep, and then this would be where I have a staff meeting, but because I have multiple different, so this is like my personal calendar, and then I have the school calendar, and I'm in charge of my personal calendar, the school calendar, the staff calendar, you know, all 5 of them. I've turned most of them off now because it's summer and I don't want to see all that on my calendar, but eventually I'll go and turn it on. And so then like staff meeting would show up right there, and then I have office hours, and then lunch would be right there, which is on the staff calendar, and then team planning, whichever planning meeting I'm assigned to that day will be there, another virtual office hours, and then anything else. And very quickly, like let's say I need to schedule something really quick, I'm just going to type in staff meeting. I'm going to add it to whatever calendar, see all my fun calendars. Yeah, that stresses me out too. I added it, it's there. So now anyone that calendar is shared with, it not only pops up on my screen, it pops up on their screen. I typically don't look at this view super often, but maybe at the beginning of my day when I'm doing that daily prep, I'm looking through my emails, I'm making sure I have all the documents I have open for the day, I'm doing any edits, I'll probably glance at my calendar just to make sure, like, I know what planning team meeting I'm going to that day. I know if there's a teacher I'm meeting with during virtual office hours. I know if I have giving PD in the staff meeting, that all shows up right there. And it's all built in directly into Google Mail, which I think is great. I think it's super smart. And if you didn't notice, it's also built into Google Drive as well, which is also super nice. I know that was a lot that we just did. Any thoughts, questions, concerns about all of those things that I just went over before we move on to the next thing? Cool. So just like with Google Keep, if you wanted to open calendar or tasks, oh, not tasks, if you want to open them up big, you just click on open in a new tab. Task might, what to think about that? Maybe they don't, maybe it only opens up here. Okay, next is Google Chrome. So for that, we are going to go back to the presentation really quick. I know, you forgot it was even there. And I do have a lot of other notes in here that I didn't go over that I just want to make sure you have. If you want me to go over, I definitely will go over actually this one before we go into Google Chrome. If you want to make a forced copy, so you want to share something with someone, but let's be honest, maybe that person is someone that maybe messes up your things pretty regularly and you're getting really tired of them doing that, but you still want them to have access to this document that you created because you're a good teammate and you want to share with them. If you copy the link and where it says edit, you delete that word and you put the word copy, then it'll, when they click on that link, it's a forced copy for them. They have to automatically make a copy of the document and it adds it to their drive. So I know that we all have somebody that does that, and we're all really nice people and we want to continue sharing, but sometimes it is super frustrating. This is a quick way to get around it. They will just delete the word edit with copy. Same, you can also delete the word edit and put view, and then they can only see it as well. But I personally just want them to go ahead and make a copy of it. All right, next is Google Chrome teacher-friendly extensions. I'm just gonna go over them really quickly. I don't have all of these added, but I do have some of them added and I can show you what they look like. And then I can show you how to add extensions if you don't know how to do that. So first, Bitmoji. Bitmoji is kind of like the craze in education right now, so easy to add if you have the Bitmoji extension in your Chrome bar. Dual list is split screens. If you have a Mac, then you know split screens are fairly easy to use. But if you don't have a Mac, the Chrome extension does make split screens easy to use. All you have to do is download that extension and you can have multiple windows open on your screen at the same time without having to that automatic resizing. Custom cursor for Chrome, that's where I got my fun cursor. And there are literally thousands of cursors to choose from. Makes instruction interesting, it makes PD interesting, it makes it easier for you guys to follow where I'm at because it's a little bit bigger and it catches your eye just a little bit more than the normal cursor does. Giphy, you can add GIFs to things easily. I personally really love GIFs and send them probably more than I should, but makes my life fun. Screencastify, easy screen recording, especially, I don't know what you're using for screen recording. This is what I used to use. I don't use it as much anymore, but it still is super user-friendly and saves directly to your Google Drive. But you do have a 15-minute video limit on there. Equate.io makes it easy to add mathematical equations and formulas across Chrome and across your products. All you have to do is click on it and open it up. If you're a math teacher and you don't have that extension, I definitely suggest getting that extension.
Hannah,
yes.
Do you know, Kim asked, do you know if there's a code to get the full Screencastify free?
I don't know off the top of my head. I probably have it somewhere. If there is one, I'm on their newsletter, so I can go and look. If you want to send me an email, I'll look through my stuff and see if they have one sent out. Moat is where you can leave voice notes on different Google products. So if you don't have, anyway, you click on the extension, you click in maybe it's a document, maybe it's a sheet, maybe it's a slide, you highlight and you can leave a note within those Google products. Grammarly, I love Grammarly. It checks my spelling and all my grammar mistakes as I write. It makes me sound a lot smarter than I am a lot of the time. It helps me with comma splices, passive and active voice. It's turned on and I use it literally all of the time. It's just, you can see it up here at the top. It's turned on and it's constantly checking me. Cami is a way to edit and annotate PDFs in your browser. It's just an extension. You don't have to convert things into a Google Doc. You can just have the extension. It opens up the PDF and you can edit and annotate. And then one of my new favorites is Picture in a Picture extension. So let's say I need to watch a webinar, but I also have a ton of work to do. I can open the webinar, and then with that extension, I just go up here and click, and it moves it off to the side, like in a corner, and I can still have the video playing, but I can be working on all of my other windows, and it doesn't pause, which is a big one for me, because some of them, when I was like, open it in a tab, let it play, and then I move, it stops the video from playing because it thinks you're not paying attention, but this one doesn't, and it's great.
A couple of questions about extensions.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said, where do you find the extensions, and do you have to have the extension open for it to work?
So once they're up here in your toolbar, most of the time, if you want to use it, all you have to do is click on it. So like, for example, I have the custom cursor for Chrome, but I'm tired of my stars. I'm gonna click on it. It's always on, and then I can go through and I can choose what my next one is gonna be. So let's find one. Let's do this, mic and headphones. So I close it. Now the mic is my cursor, and then if I want to click, it's headphones, but it's always turned on. Now, like, Honey is an extension. It's not a teacher-friendly extension. That's just a personal extension to find coupons and discounts. I'm not obviously on a website where it's detecting that I'm trying to purchase anything, so it's not turned on. But if I were to say go to like oldnavy.com, then Honey's going to turn on because it knows it's a shopping website. So, but to answer your question, how do you get extensions? That's what we're going to do next. So if you're in Google Chrome, you're going to go to the three dots beside your picture, or probably beside your picture. And then you're going to go to More Tools. And then you're going to go to Extensions. And it's going to open up a new tab in your Google Chrome. And then it's going to show you all the extensions that you have. So as you can see, these are all the extensions I have right now. But I want to get some new ones. So I'm going to go to the three lines on the left-hand side, and I'm going to open the Chrome Web Store at the bottom, which is going to open up another tab. And so now I'm at the Chrome Web Store, and I'm going to look for some extensions. Now, one great thing about Google is they like to organize things a lot like I do. And so they have things organized into some groups. So like staying at home, it's got some of the fun ones. Editor's picks, these are the ones that, Google makes themselves. If you're working from home, they have a section. Online education has a section that you might want to scroll through. Games, all that fun stuff. So this is where I find a lot of the extensions. And I'm going to be honest, sometimes I just scroll through things just to see what's available. Like the Picture in a Picture one, I just was scrolling through one day and was like, oh, that looks interesting. And I tried it out with that webinar, a webinar I had to listen to about testing that I, needed to listen to, but obviously had other things I wanted to do. And it was really great to have it like open to the side while I was working. But here's a lot of the ones I talked about. They're super popular in education right now. Cami, Bitmoji, Grammarly, Duelist, the math one.
Hey, Hannah.
Yes.
I run into a problem with trying to get the Bitmoji to work because, of course, my district has logging in with Snapchat blocked. And I created this Snapchat back in like 2012. I don't remember the passwords. I don't think it's going to let me.
Oh, no, I think that can you create, I think the Bitmoji that I use with my Google looks the same as the one I created with my Snapchat, but I created a whole new account.
Oh, so it'll let you can have multiple accounts. Oh,
yeah.
That makes even, okay, cool. Thank you.
So I have them, they look the same if anyone really wanted to go into like and look at the difference between my Snapchat and my Bitmoji on all of my Google stuff, but I created a whole new account for that one.
I didn't even think to create a new one. Thank you.
So yeah, super simple. So let's find, okay, I don't have Google Translate. Let's click on Google Translate. I want to add this as an extension. I'm going to go over here to the blue button, add to Chrome. And then I want to add the extension. It pops up on the side. It's been added. I'm going to click the X mark and it's going to disappear. And it took me a little while to figure out how to make it reappear. But if you click on this puzzle piece, this is how you control which extensions show up in your toolbar and which ones don't. So the ones that have the blue pin are the ones that show up and I can just easily click on all the time. So I'm going to go find Google Translate. I'm going to pin it. Now it pops off to the side and it's there. And so now all I have to do is click and it's there. But let's say like I want to, which one do I want to take off? Let's say I want to, take off Grammarly. I mean, I know it's working, but I don't need to see that it's working. I just removed it. But I like to see it, so I'm going to put it back. And so, I mean, I've seen people that have like 25 lined up along here, and they're like, this bar is like over to here, and it's all extensions. Like, you could have it that way if you want. I haven't found enough extensions that I feel like are like that necessary, but these are some good ones that just, I think, help make the teacher workflow more manageable, and that I personally have used and enjoy. But once they're there, then all you have to do is click and they work. And I don't have the free, I only have the free version of Grammarly, so and it still works wonders if you don't have that one. All right, so that is Google Chrome. Also, fun thing, if you don't have this extension, I really like it. It's called Momentum. And it, when you open a new tab or you open your browser, it gives you a pretty picture, it gives you a quote, and it tells you what time it is. And you can also like say what your main focus for the day is. So like when I was making these presentations, I was like, my main focus for the day is getting this presentation completed. And it'll like show up, and every time you open a new tab, especially like when you start going down your social media rabbit hole that we sometimes find ourselves in, it would remind me that I need to complete my presentation. It also tells me where I am, the temperature. I don't know. I really love it. It totally has nothing to do with productivity or anything like that, but makes me feel happy, which sometimes does really help me be productive. But those are the extensions. Okay, last thing. If you didn't know, and I can go into detail if anyone would want me to, or you can just, follow I did put this kind of in detail. If you're in like a Google Doc, and you highlight, actually, I think I should be able to do it here, actually. Let's say I want to highlight citation, and I want to explore citation. It's going to bring up all web things for citation, any images, and anything in my drive that's related to citation. So that's the Explore feature. It's built into Slides, Sheets, and Docs. And it's kind of, all you have to do is highlight a word, right click, Explore, and it's going to bring up. So that's helpful, especially if you're a high school teacher and teaching research, kind of built right into the side. Next thing is image tools. If you didn't know, you can search. There are tools specifically in Google Images that allow you to search for specific sides, colors, usage rights, or when they were created. Super helpful, especially when you're teaching like correct digital citizenship and how to use pictures. Like, you want to make sure you're choosing a picture that you're allowed to use, that's filtered correctly. Maybe you're looking for an image that specifically has a transparent background because you're going to do some photoshopping with it or anything like that. So just because we can, let me go show you how that works. So search dog on images of dogs. I'm going to go to tools. And this is where I can search. I want only large images. I want to see if they have any with transparent backgrounds. So all of these images have transparent backgrounds. And then I want to make sure it's an image maybe I can use. It's got lots of different options, but I want to make sure it's labeled for reuse. And there are the images that I can use. So that's super, especially when you're teaching kids and even us, sometimes we have to remind ourselves that we can't just Google something and use the first image that pops up, unless we're really willing to go into all that citation and all of that. Like sometimes it's just easier to find one that's labeled for reuse that you're allowed to use and kind of manipulate with. And it's all built in directly into Google Images. So if you didn't know, that is there. And then as we kind of wrap down, we've got about 5 minutes left. These are some amazing educators to follow on Twitter. If you don't already follow them, that use Google, that know lots about Google. Alice Keeler is the Google queen. And then these are some other presentations and blogs that I use to kind of keep up to date with different Google things. And yeah, that is everything I have for today. So with all that being said, if there aren't any questions or anything, feel free, you can go ahead and click the link there. I'll also put it in the chat to do the attendance for today. But I'll also stick around in case anybody has any questions or wants to know anything specifically about anything Google related. Thank you guys for being here.
Hannah,
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing the blended learning with Canvas as well?
The teaching it?
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Hannah, I have another question about the priority again. And you said that you can put the documents in there and it doesn't remove them for the folders.
Mm-hmm.
But if you start to edit them in priority, does it automatically edit them in your drive, in the actual folder?
Yes. So it doesn't actually move the document out of the folder. All it does is essentially is creating just a new link to that document. So everything that's sorted stays sorted in all your folders. It doesn't change any of your organization. It just kind of creates an easier way for you to access it.
That is super awesome. Thank you, Hannah.
Yep, no problem.
And a question that I saw, a couple questions I saw go through. One is, are you doing any other sessions today?
I am not doing any other sessions today. I'm sorry.
That's what I thought, but I didn't want to misspeak. And then the other one was, there is a place, is it the spreadsheet they go to that will have the link to the slides?
Yeah, so the slides, if you go to the bit.ly that's on the screen right now, bit.ly/Google is my BFF20. That's a link to the slides. You should be able to, once you click on that link, also add it to your drive or make a copy. Please feel free. All I ask, if you use any of the information that I've curated, just give me credit. On my website as well, which is on the second slide. Once you have that, all presentations that I've ever done since 2016 are there. Please feel free. You can go through, find anything you like, ask me any questions about that as well. And then, yeah, I think that answered all the questions.
Yeah.
And then I think I saw someone wanted all the educators to follow. So I'm gonna add that.
So Hannah, the format for the Google Slides, it's like the presentation. It's not like how you're presenting like in the app Google Slides. It's like a presentation mode.
Oh, it did the view only?
Yeah, I think.
Okay, here, let me.
As far as that specific link. So I was like trying to figure out like, where can I copy this link or?
All right, I'm going to just make a copy of this document and then put a link for everyone that wants to click on it in the chat.
Okay.
So anyone that wanted something on the screen, give me just a second and I'll bring it back. Well, now my computer decided it wants to be slow. Yeah, I will say I'm not a fan of this cursor list. Okay, come on. Nope. Okay. No, it's a viewer, isn't it? Yep, hold on. I'm gonna get it right. I think my brain might be a little fried right now as well. Copy link. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to change this. Yep. Now try. And let me change this cursor. Thank you guys for all the positive comments in the chat. I'm really glad you guys enjoyed this session. I'm glad it was helpful, and I really hope and please let me know if you have any questions as you go into this new year and all of the changes that I'm sure that you're gonna experience. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help out. Did that link work?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, you should be able to click on that second link and then add it to your drive now that it's a copy, or make another copy and add it to your drive, you know, all that fun stuff because shortcuts. Thank you, thank you. And I think there was someone that wanted this screen up a little while ago. I'll put that back up if anyone wanted it back up so you could follow those people on Twitter. But if you have access to my slides, then now you have that information as well. And then I will stick around probably for the next 10 minutes. I'll leave this Zoom open. If anyone has any questions or anything, I will be here. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all of the kind words.
Hi, Hannah. I am taking advantage of this situation here. Would you run through Google Calendar again? Like, say if I wanted to add an event to my calendar and then invite people to my event, could you run through that real quick, or will that take too long?
No, definitely not. So I actually, if I'm going to do something like more advanced like that, I'm actually just going to go and open up my whole Google Calendar. That's going to make it a little easier to like manipulate things. All right, so let's say I'm going to create an event for 1 o'clock today. So let me open up. And what I actually do is I'm going to click on more options because I want it to open up the big version. So I want to see this screen because it gives me all of the information I need. So we're going to create just a test event. It's going to be from 1 to 2. And then you want to add people. So this is where people that are in your network, you can just go through and start typing their email addresses and add them as a guest. So like, let's say I want Stephanie to be a part of this. I added her as a guest. I want my principal to be a part of it. I'm going to add him as a guest. My tech boss to be a part of it. I'm going to add her as a guest. So then they're added. And so once I save the event, they're going to get an email asking them to be a part of this event. And that's when they answer either yes or no, that they're able to attend or they're not able to attend. And so because I don't actually want to email my principal, or Melissa right now, I'm just going to email it to you, Stephanie, and you can just press no. And so I'm going to press save. Would you like to send an invitation? Yes, I do. And so then now my event is created, and Stephanie will let us know when she gets the email. It should be pretty quick though.
Thank you. That was great.
Mm-hmm. That answered your question?
Yes, it certainly did. I knew it was something so easy, but I had never done it before. So I just wanted to make sure I didn't screw it up.
No, you're good. Oh, I'm so sorry that your admin blocked custom cursors. Did it block all of them? There's a couple of different ones. There's amazing cursors. This is just the one created specifically for Chrome. Oh, I'm so sorry. That might be something that you might be interested. Like to me, there's no reason that it is blocked. It's not like a security issue. Send an email. What harm could it do? I send lots of emails about things. The recorded version, I know the Sea Summit is collecting all of them, but if you send me an email, I will also send the recording specifically to you. Let me go back and get the attendance bit.ly again. And then Jill sent me an email this morning, so let me go make sure. Yep, that's it. Still the same. And so if Monica, if you're still there, now that Stephanie's responded, it lets me know that Stephanie can't go. And since she's the only one invited to my event, then I can either reschedule or delete the event straight from my Google Calendar.
Thank you again, Hannah.
No problem. All right, everyone, if there are no more questions, I think I'm gonna sign off. Send me an email if you need the recording, or you can just wait for when the Sea Summit sends out their recordings. And thank you, Stephanie, for helping out today. I really appreciate it. All right. Bye, everyone.